Hello, everybody. Salam alaikum. Thank you so much for joining in on today's Zoom in on the Halal Metropolis, where we are taking a closer look at how the Muslim communities of Southeast Michigan are coping with the COVID-19 pandemic. And today we're speaking with Malak Wazne-Fadlallah. She is an award-winning documentary filmmaker and a photographer who works on tearing down boundaries one story at a time. And we'll be talking to her today about sort of, what it means to be a filmmaker and a photographer during the pandemic, and how her work has been impacted, her creativity, her client work, and how her projects have been affected. But first, Malak, let us know, how are you doing? I hope that you're doing okay during these times, and your family's doing okay.
Wa alaikum assalam. Alhamdulillah, we're doing good. Just, you know, fasting, trying to pick up a book, trying to walk outside during Ramadan, and like not seeing your extended families, a little bit difficult and different, but we're sticking together and learning a lot about each other too.
Yeah, I think we're all spending a lot more time with the people that we live with. So
Yeah.
I guess that's sort of the silver lining in all of this. Well, Malak, you're a phenomenal creator. Your work has been featured in numerous outlets, in Vogue Arabia magazine and BuzzFeed and other outlets. Maybe you can sort of tell us a little bit about the work that you do in general, your interests, and sort of how your work has been impacted by what's going on right now.
So thank you. So yeah, I do filmmaking, photography, documentary style. I like to document stories. I also do client work from weddings to events, senior pictures. And right now, like both aspects of my work are kind of being just paused. So, I was booked for events and engagement parties and senior photos, and everything just had to get postponed suddenly. Um, but it's all good because I actually had this dream of selling photo prints of uh, just photos I've taken while I've traveled to Palestine, Lebanon, and even in Dearborn. And I finally had the time to do it because I didn't have photo shoots, I didn't have photos to edit. And so I was just like, you know what, I have these photos, let me start selling prints. And so I've had that opportunity, alhamdulillah, in this quarantine.
Yeah, and I heard, we spoke before this that your wedding was canceled.
Oh my
Uh,
God. Yeah, so that that's
I'm
yeah.
sorry, but first of all, Mabruk, congratulations. And inshallah, you can host the wedding, after this is all over. But yeah, going back to what you're saying, it's kind of amazing. This is something that we're hearing a lot from artists and photographers and filmmakers. They've
Mhm.
really rebounded and adjusted their work to what's happening. Like you're selling prints right now, and
Yeah.
it says a lot about the human spirit, and how it adjusts to the conditions around us. One thing that I think about a lot is photographers and filmmakers and storytellers to me are essential workers. Telling the story is essential. We need somebody to be documenting what's going on, to share the stories, right now, and then eventually, even after this is all over, we can go back and analyze these stories and sort of understand it from a different perspective. Um, in your opinion, why do you think it's important that photographers and other creative people document what's going on?
I think it's important because without storytelling, we have barriers built up, in front of each other, and we don't get that human connection. It's easy to make judgments when we don't understand other people's stories, and I think storytelling creates this empathy in communities alike, and that are very different too. So I think especially in these times when we see, the difference in our Black community,
Mhm.
getting coronavirus, and their deaths are exponentially high than other groups, and then we a lot of people just can't seem to empathize with that or don't quite get it. judgments are made, stereotypes, and I think by telling those stories, telling stories of other communities and different stories, we're able to bridge those gaps and tear down those barriers.
That's phenomenal. Exactly what you're saying. These stories are a tool to understand the other.
Yeah,
Because maybe we wouldn't know about these disparities if it
right.
wasn't for them being shared, on social media, through video, through photos.
Another reason why it's so important to share stories and to put them out on social media is because, for example, a week or two ago, or actually this happened 4 months ago, where this 19-year-old Black man was running down the street and he got shot. And there was this video of it, and nothing was happening in the system for months until finally this video was posted on social media. Unfortunately, this man was shot, and people were just posting it everywhere, calling officials and people in power. And it just showed us that change doesn't happen when oppression happens. Change happens when people stand up against it, and when people create, and rally against it. So I think that's why it's important to document and share stories, and to tell the stories of ourselves and of the people around us, so we can continue to make change.
And that's very powerful. And of course, our prayers out to his family. It's a very, very, very sad story. And I appreciate everybody who shares stories like that, so we all can be more informed on what's going on. And you're a fantastic storyteller. One of my favorite pieces of your work is the documentary you did on Zaman International, which is a nonprofit, a local nonprofit here. And I guess I'm curious, what type of stories do you think, what type of stories catch your eye during this pandemic? We've seen things on how families are reacting, and businesses, and broader topics on the loss of human connection. Are there any stories that catch your eye?
I think a lot of the stories we're going to see coming during the pandemic, depending on how long it lasts and after, is how organizations are able to persevere and still help and give back. Organizations like Zaman, like the Helping Hands, like so many organizations across Dearborn and beyond. And I'm just so excited to see, the work that they've been able to do during this pandemic. I also think stories of just families coming together and learning more about each other. I saw this video the other day where people were calling up people that there was at some point, they just stopped talking for one reason or another, whether that was a father or like a sibling or a best friend. And so I think we're gonna hear stories of coming together a lot.
Yeah. Maybe it's not so much the loss of human connection. Maybe it's the
Yeah.
rebirth, or a different version of human connection. Who knows?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, maybe it was there's no human connection, but then people are forced to, find the beauty in in that, and not the beauty in the loss of human connection at all. I mean, just, doing something about it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And something else, I want to talk about is a lot of your work is very philanthropic. For example, you're selling prints right now, as you mentioned, and a portion of what you make from those prints is going towards orphans in need. And right now we're living in a time where a lot of people's livelihood is dependent on philanthropic efforts and other people's generosity. So why is it important for people to give back, in your opinion?
So alhamdulillah, yeah, I've been able to do that, and it's just been such a beautiful journey. It's only been a few weeks since I launched my shop.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really important for people to do that, because the more that you're given, the more of an obligation you have to give back. And that's just how I feel. I just think, just spread it out, give it back. Whatever you're given, just pour it out.
Yeah, and I love that. The more that you're given, the more an obligation you have to give back. And I wish more people thought like that. But Malak, thank you for that. Thank you for your philanthropic work, of course, but thank you also for all the creative work that you've done, throughout the years, telling different stories. It's very, very important stuff. And of course, thank you for joining in on today's episode of Zoom In on the Halal Metropolis, and speaking with us today. And thank you for everybody who's watching as well. And make sure to check out Malak's amazing work. It's really, really, really phenomenal stuff. And we'll see you at the next one. So
thank you so much for having me. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. Bye, guys.
Salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.